he did say he'd be a dictator on day one. Oh, Democrats, it's just Trump. He just talks. Well, let me tell you something. He is doing more than talking. We talked about Project 2025. We talked about the consolidation of power. We talked about how he wanted to be a king. We talked about in a democratic republic, that is not what it is. We have some sort of checks and balances, and he is doing everything that he can to get rid of those checks and balances. The DOJ and the people that he's going after were simply doing their jobs. The problem is that Americans thought that it was okay to take a full-fledged criminal and make him the president of the United States, and then they want to act aghast when he does criminal things. Let me tell you, we have a thug in charge of the United States, and if we don't wake up, we may not have a United States, because right now he has only been successful in being a divider in chief.
Wow. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth, the Jasmine Crockett series. Yet no, I mean that is like, I mean, she is like, I mean, I think she's become my cheer. I'm her cheerleader. I mean, she has just, man, you know what I mean? Yeah. Coming by stride. It's so good to see that she is taking the stands that she is and making the marks that she is, in the arena of politics, because we need that. Mm-hmm. We absolutely need that. I mean, at the end of this, so I am so glad to see her taking that. And then, of course, what she said, she did like we did. We warned everybody about what was going to happen when he got in office. Yeah. And
but it's so obvious. And, people still playing in people's faces, still playing in our faces, talking about, well, he's just all talk. He's not going to do this. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, what he said he's going to do, he's going to do.
What are you doing?
He is doing. He's doing. And, I don't care now to hear what people, especially those who support him, has to say, because at the end of the day, this man is absolutely trying to overthrow what has already been written. And to be honest with you, he don't even care. It doesn't faze him. He has nothing to lose in this. The only people that have a lot to lose are the people like me and you, who don't have a pot to be in, and almost in a dough to throw it out. It seemed like, if that makes sense. See, that's how country I
am. But you're right about that. You know why? Because I think he's on a revenge tour. Because America, it wasn't just us. It was the politicians. Everybody impeached him. And they did it twice. And they showed that what he was doing was grimy. He shouldn't have even been able to run for president, except for Merrick Garland didn't have enough guts or balls to stand up to what he's supposed to do as his job, and he let it go. And he did pity patted with it so long till he got a chance to get the I guess you case consensus on his side. But that doesn't matter, because the Constitution states directly, you cannot cause an insurrection and become president. You can't run for political office. That's just how it works. And then but they don't follow the rules. But if it had been Obama, we'd have perp walked him down. He'd have, and it's so crazy. And you can tell the contradiction, because look at JFK Jr. He wants everybody to eat right. But Michelle Obama said that, that heifer can't tell us what to do.
RFK Jr. RFK. John L. K. He's been gone a long time ago. God bless his soul.
Well, Junior, no, I mean, Robert Kennedy Jr. And but it's the case of it is, how do you can't even justify it. And like I tell everybody, Trump to get a mandate, he won about 1% barely beat her out. That's not a mandate. 1/3 of the people didn't even vote, which I still blame them for not voting. That's another problem. And then now my mom is even having issues getting her new ID. They want her to show a marriage license. My pop been dead for 10 years. How do you need a marriage license when that happened?
Yeah. You need a birth certificate, especially for those down south who were born during the Great Depression. Black folks who couldn't even afford to go just to get a birth certificate.
Right.
And then on top of that, a marriage license. And there's a lot of people didn't have marriage licenses. Right. But see, that's just the craziness that we are now having to deal with in this country, is that you have people who are so inconsiderate to the times that people had to live. They're ignorant to the times that people had to live, and they don't care, because I always say, at the end of the day, it's a money scheme.
Right.
Somebody's always, this is why you can't get the homeless off the street,
Mhm.
because this, especially those who are rich, they want to privatize every damn thing that's going on, even philanthropy.
Mhm.
You can't get the homeless off the street because what are they to get out of it? To be honest with you, a lot of those people, especially those who run businesses or 1%, they want those people to work. I don't see nothing wrong with people working.
Right.
I don't mind seeing anybody find a job or to work. But to be honest with you, in order for these cities like, LA, I'm gonna put us out there, New York, all these people, all of these cities that have this situation with homelessness, we're never gonna get rid of homelessness because they want to privatize the situation with the homelessness, like they have did, like Procter and Johnson, like have they done with the prison system. It's a business scheme. Like, right. we gotta have something. We gotta get our investment back for this type of work. So you're not gonna see people off the street.
Right.
You're not going to see that happen.
I mean, you touched on a lot of points there. One thing about here in America, and it doesn't matter what area of life that you're in, it's all based on monetary substance.
Yeah.
All of it.
Some for profit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. All monetary,
some for profit.
All on monetary substance.
That's right.
I mean, at the end of the day, and it's very sad that it's like, because like you said, you can't get people off the street because then they can't make any money off of them.
No.
And be it whatever. I mean, there's so much behind. Just like, for instance, like this, as the individuals, unfortunately, that are on the street, a lot of them are into drug activity.
That's right.
Okay.
But
here's the thing: you're looking at that. They get money every month.
That's true.
They get money to eat, and they get money. A lot of them choose to live on the street, but they choose to live on the street because they have habits. But that habit is supported. I'm just kind of building up some here. So the habits get supported. All right. The habit gets supported by the drug dealer. Okay. The drug dealer get the money. Okay. And then that money comes in from governmental positions that a lot of drugs come in. Because I've been here saying no to drugs since I was born. Hey Charles, we came out talking about say no to drugs.
Hey, well, I'm gonna put it to you honest. I tell people, yes, I smoke. Yes, I drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. I never have. But I smoke weed. I drink, and I've always been a advocate for not doing drugs. I got uncles that have done heroin and crack. Relatives that on that, they were freebasing the cocaine. Got stuck on that crack after the fact. So my family upbringing has been a bunch of drunks. Well, I don't say drunks. They drank, but they drank a lot. And but like I tell anybody, my ex-wife didn't drink. She smoked cigarettes, but she didn't drink because she saw what it did to her family. And the same with me. I watched my uncles and so forth fight at family get-togethers and so forth. When they get all drunk up, they gotta prove their point. Everybody's arguing. But I always, when I told my kids that I smoked, I had to tell them. I said, "Look, I'm an adult. I can pay for my habit. Until you're an adult and you can take care of yourself, this is something you shouldn't do. Plus, at your age, it will stunt your growth and make things difficult for you as you get older."
Correct. And
they basically listen to me. Now, I don't mean that that's where they are as grown-ups, but as the kids, I didn't have that issue out of it.
Right.
And they understood. And I tell people, one thing you should do with your kids is be honest. Don't do all this, well, do as I say, but don't do as I do. No, give them an understanding, because just like when you were a child, you have questions. And if I can't get them answered, it makes you more inquisitive to do it. Now I'm like, oh, well, if you ain't telling me, it must be something else to it that you ain't saying.
Right. No, I my master. Well, I was gonna say I had an uncle that was, he could have been either the next or riding right alongside Nat King Cole.
Oh wow.
I mean, serious. I mean, this man was gifted, and not just in singing, but in acting and all of the other type of things that go into industry. Matter of fact, my aunts, I know the whole family, me and my brother, we were talking about this. I think I told you this a few weeks back, and he was starting to share like different areas of the talents that came through, and the majority of my uncles and aunts were all talented.
Oh wow.
We should have been the Jackson 5.
Musically.
or the Brown 5 or whatever,
LeBron Dag.
I know, right? Yeah. But at the time when they were, I think when they were coming up to even try to step over into the entertainment world.
Oh wow.
I mean, because you figure the majority of them grew up between the 20s and the 30s. You know what I'm saying? And the 20th
Mhm.
and the 30th. Oh, and real quick, we got to say happy birthday, Uncle Hezzy. Uncle Fred, 90 years old this week. This week,
Wow.
yes, he turned 90. That's always been my favorite uncle. Sorry, y'all, but I mean, he has been. He's been my favorite uncle since I've known an uncle. All right, but I
you
want
know who also turned not 90 but 95? Michael Jackson's mother.
Catherine Jackson.
Oh, Catherine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
after turned 95.
Yeah.
I hope the darndest that you can be celebrating me when I get 90 and 95 and 118 and 122. No, but no, that's, I mean, really, that nowadays that is such an accomplishment, you know, to press past things and issues in your body, to come back from those things, you know, and be present, you know, because a lot of people don't make it, you know, but
no, I was just saying, hey, you're right. And I try to explain to my kids. And back in the day, they don't know it, but at 40, my son is over 40 now. Wow, that's different. But when you pass that 35 up into 40, you're middle aged. They don't really realize that you are actually middle aged.
Right.
And
life expectancy is life expectancy is between 78 and 80.
Yeah, but what about before us? It was up to 50.
Right. Yeah.
So at 30 years old, you middle aged. You reckon you'd be 30.
Well, isn't the new 40, 60 right now?
Well, yeah. I mean, people are living longer.
In some respects,
they are living. Yeah, in some respects, they are living younger. You know, I know we didn't went all off on other stuff, y'all. We were talking about, but it was good. We bring it in. We just want to welcome you guys to the show tonight. You know, and tonight's show theme, we were trying to say, the wind is blowing. What direction are you facing? Okay, so that could be very controversial. Okay, and then it could be the fact that what way are you accepting this wind blowing at you? Are you blowing success? Are you blowing legacy? Are you blowing complaining? Are you know what I'm saying? So where are you? So we're going to unpack that a little bit tonight and tie that into which way the wind is blowing. Where are you standing?
Well,
in the midst
Bob Dylan say, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
Well, okay, great caption. The answer is blowing in the wind. You know, even from a spiritual perspective, you know, even with that, because I remember back in the heavy church days and stuff that I went through, they would always say that, you know, the Spirit of God has just blown in, you know, or they would recognize the Holy Spirit as a wind. And what scripturally it did say, you know, it came in as a mighty rushing wind.
Is that Shekinah glory? That's more like a Shekinah glory, isn't it?
Well, Shekinah, I mean, you know, well, you know what, I just want to take you to the Bible, but the Shekinah understanding comes from the Old Testament. Basically, it was a certain aspect of dispensation at that point, not so much in the New Testament. But anyway, but yeah, no, that's okay. No, that's fine. It's still, it's all one and the same. Was new or old. You know, there's always points you can pull for every part of Scripture to make
But I always thought that was more like a wind or a rush of whatever plume or whatever that smoke that it was described as. Well, Shekinah glory.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you see, wow, that kind of opens up a lot to get, to make the understanding a lot about that. But the one thing for sure is that the Spirit of God shows up in His own way at His own given time in each and every our lives when it's so. If we want to look at that as a rushing wind, look at that as a rushing wind. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it does feel like a rushing wind moment, you know, or like you get the downloads. I get the downloads. Charles gets the downloads, you know, and it just overtakes you for that moment because you feel it. And, you know, when I feel like tears coming down. I'm like, okay, he here. You know, he done showed up, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I got criticized today, you know, about my spirituality. Yeah, I got criticized about my spirituality today. Like, what? So I'm like, all right. They have to hold me back from not wanting to get in here and preach deep at the time, okay? Because I know who I am, and I know who I am in God. So I'm gonna leave that at that. All right. Maybe the people that need to question that need to figure themselves out and have their own understanding. But anyway, so back to what we were talking about. So let's kind of pivot back into. I'm sorry, we got to do the particulars. Mugs. We didn't have the mugs handy tonight, but mugs. $9.99. Please get a mug. Please get a mug. Please get a mug. Please get a mug. Like, and share. Like, and share. With the contest is still rolling. 5 likes and 5 shares. Okay, send them to our email ttbttshow@gmail. Do that. We'll get a mug out to you for sharing those. And like and shares mean that you share the show or shows on your page and invite people to join, and then and ask them to share, and ask them to like that particular page. Our line is open, preferably if you guys are going to use the online show, the 213-358-5553, send a text. Okay, that'll be a little bit easier because it's kind of hard for me to juggle that and be in conversation with you guys as well. But a text is much more easier. And we love your comments from that. Okay, so text them in. Okay, if you can't get it on the screen, if you don't see it pop up, text it to us. All right, so we're live in that aspect. Now, one other point, I'm gonna shut up. Soon we'll announce it probably the next couple of weeks that we're going to provide a number actually that you can text to get you to be able to get the link of the information when we go live. So you won't miss show times. Okay, if it's convenient for you to join in at that particular point, you click that link real simple and just go right to the show. All right. So we're going to have that available for you coming
on
forward.
YouTube. Put your notifications in. On YouTube, on IG, on Facebook, hit notifications. It'll let you know when it's coming on.
When you're coming live. Yes, exactly. All right. Well, where you at?
Let's go.
All right. All right. So we did start off tonight. Well, and I know I wanted to celebrate Jasmine Crockett. We were talking about in our meeting, guys, about Jasmine and what she is doing, in the world of politics and in the world of Washington, I am so proud of this young lady, and I'm so proud of her tenacity. I am so proud of the fact that she ain't scared to stand up to nobody. Okay, and she's gonna tell you exactly what she feel and what she feel about it. But the beautiful part about it is that when she tell you about something, it's all for a purpose. It's just not up to flying off the hip like that. What's that? Murder Taylor Greene? What you call it? Maggot Taylor Greene? What you call her?
I call it MAGA Teresa.
Oh,
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, MAGA Teresa. Okay, and not saying anything with any substance or anything, or in a line to help build people together, rather than trying to push a Trump agenda. Yeah, but I'm so proud of Jasmine. But go ahead, Bill.
Well, for Jasmine, I think the Democrats should utilize more of her voice because she speaks more for the people in the back room. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that as a slight. I mean that, to be honest with you, there are a lot of Americans who are not they need somebody like her to break it down for them to understand what's actually going on and the severity of what's going on. And plus, she's young. She's of the young crowd. And there's not too many politicians who are young. True. Which I think is, that's why I believe in term limits. I believe, honestly, we should have term limits regardless of how many years somebody should be in office, because at the end of the day, if it's more than what it needs to be more of, then they're not really working for the constituents. Right. They're working for themselves. Right. Now, it just depends on what they're doing. But I believe still term limits. Yes. Because honestly, a lot of these people have been in office for too long. They have really lost contact with reality, lost contact with their people. But then I blame the people. I can't blame the pimp if the people love to be pimped. I cannot blame the pimp. Because if you keep allowing the pimp to keep ruling the corner, then honey, I don't know what to tell you. You just like to be pimped all around. Y'all remember that movie Trucker Turner? Trucker Turner. Y'all remember that movie?
Truck Turner.
See, I try with my black exploitation, but the madam said, we a family. And that's how we all gonna stay, right? Is that how you said it? And them girls sitting there looking crazy, but that sounds like these politicians. They come to these town halls knowing that they ain't did nothing, talking about we all a family, that's how we all gonna stay. No, that's not how. Some of these folks need to rise up and say, wait a minute, fool. At the end of the day, you ain't been doing what you need to be doing, and you need to be rooted up out. That's true. So at the end of, that is the situation with the American people. These politicians are not going to do the job unless we provoke them to do the job. Just like you can go to a McDonald's and provoke them to redo your hamburger.
Ooh, we were going to talk about McDonald's right
and cuss them out because your fries ain't fully cooked. You need to be cussing out these politicians because you ain't getting a fair wage. Your roads ain't paved. You need to be cussing these folks out for real. Instead of waiting till it's time for us to vote at a midterm and federal election, you need to be all up in. We need to be all up in their tails and doing what we need to do as Americans. Because in the Constitution,
Right.
we the people,
That's true.
not we the president, not we the senator, the Congress, the judge. It's we the freaking people.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, in order for this country to get back to where it needs to be, we the people need to stand up or step it up.
Well, I think even it's unfortunately that we the people are not even the people right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's we to somebody else, because it's not even really we the people anymore. Where do we the people fit in? You know, where do we fit in? I mean, I like how Whoopi has. I'm just bringing her up as far as the views concerned. I like how she has really reversed the thing and kind of took it off the political spectrum and placed it on the people, because he is in office because of the people. If he's going to stay in office, he's going to stay because of the people. You know, if he gets out of the office, it's going to be because of the people. So I think that the ultimate goal here is that the people got to find out who they are. You know, realize that, what.
Unless it's like a Congress to say y'all need to go shake your ass proper.
I know you all know that. I know it's off the subject, but the Justin, is it Arkansas? Well, the two Justins were the two black guys, the black guy and the Hispanic guy got kicked out of office, and they came back with resounding voting. Putting back in office. Well, the black guy Justin with the afro, he attacked someone at the GOP within the hall. They were speaking about First Amendment, the gun rights, and he was going off, and they kept telling him to, cut his thing. They turned the mic off, and he kept talking over it. Then eventually he ran up into the thing to grab somebody. I'm like, whoa! I'm trying to find it now so I can show it. I'm looking for it now.
So this is recently?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There has been some issues, to be honest with you, because are you talking about the one with the afro and glasses?
Yep, exactly.
There was a situation that happened some time back where he had a relative that had passed. It could have been, I don't know if you might know the story, Charles. It could have been his brother. Somebody had committed suicide.
His brother was shot. Yeah,
and they had held a vote while he was going during that time, and he went back and he told them that they were wrong for that. And then on top of that, especially, I think it was the vote of passing a gun law, something like that.
Okay.
But
he was
pissed off about that. And he went up there then and went off. But the fact that Tennessee, that state has a history in doing stuff like that. And because those two guys are young and black and want to make change, they are playing in them two guys' faces. They've been playing in their faces since they got into the state house. So it's the saddest thing to watch these two brothers trying to make a difference. But then you got the old guard. You got the what you call I call it the big boy system, but it's the good old boy system, the good old boy system of the South, because it's still been there. It's been there since, my goodness, since after slavery. They still hold the cards. And the saddest thing about that good old boy system, they hold poor whites down and black folks down all the time. The difference is that they always manage to get the poor whites to rise up for them to go to fight, the blacks on their behalf. That's why you for years had all these lynchings and stuff like that. You had all of these people getting dynamite. That's their way of revving up poor whites to attack the blacks, because they won't do it. They won't to instill fear, basically. So I'm just saying, these two black young brothers, they've been fighting the good fight, but you do still have a community that doesn't back them as well as they should. And that's the saddest thing to watch. Because we always busy criticizing instead of doing the help that is so needed. That's why you have so many people who watch our show. They criticize us, but they know who they are, but they don't do the help. They don't try to, to at least do what they need to do. Contribute. It's the same thing with these two guys in Tennessee. It's the same thing. I'm
gonna do a shameless plug. In the movie Sinners, with Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, they addressed this in a how do we put it, in a symbolism type of way in the movie. The same things we're talking about, which is what makes and I know it's a shameless plug, but which is what makes Sinners such a phenomenal movie. It falls short on some things, but it picks up on other things, and it gives a great symbolism if we pay attention to what is actually going on and what we should be paying attention to.
I can't wait to see it. Maybe we get to see this coming weekend.
Yeah, I want to see it too.
I do. I mean, especially to support number one. You know, I'm not a big horror fan.
It's not really a horror film. That's
Right,
the crazy part about it. It's not really a horror film. It's in the storyline, but it's not the meaning of the story. And it's basically, like I said, Sinners. It's the I guess the battle between good and bad. We all have our I guess concessions we'll do for us, even though they're not good. But as long as we're happy, that's all that matters.
You know, and that, you know, and that's a good point, because I'm trying to think, that's probably one of the biggest human frailties. You know, it's probably one of the biggest human frailties, because, and it rolls into whether you are wanting to be powerful in control of being controlled, or are powerful in terms of money, or powerful in all this stuff. It rolls right into that same ideology. Just based on that conversation I had today, was the same thing. You know, I know I will wove that back into what your point is, but you know, that's so true. And you know, one thing about Hollywood, it does expose, you know, the things that even in the existence of what we're dealing with right now. You know, I mean, very much so. But back to your point, I mean to interrupt what you're saying about the congressman.
Oh no, I was just saying that, you know, and I don't condone violence. I don't condone trying to hurt people. But until we can, because think about this: Jasmine Crockett, Jerry, I forget all the names, but the Democrats, the small number,
Governor Westmoreland.
Yeah, Westmoreland. The small number of Democrats that are actually doing something. It's not right for such a being a minority making effort. There's too many Democrats that aren't saying nothing and just riding the wave. But you know, this is something that bothers me the most. Everybody talks a good game, but nobody gets in.
That's true,
right?
And the young lady that I talked to, she had the nerve to jump on me and go, "You always talking about what they need to do and what do you do?" And I had to go, "Whoa, hold on, because hey, pull my card. I ain't ashamed." I showed her, sent her emails where I talked to Ossoff and Warnock twice, and I've called them and left voicemails, and I actually talked with Ossoff on the phone about what I had to send him. I participate. I do what I can to get in there. Too many of us go, ain't nothing we can do. If they gonna do what they want to do, well, if you don't do nothing, of course they're gonna do what they want to do. I mean, what do you expect?
That's a cop out. That's such a cop out. And I've heard people say that too. What they gonna do, what they gonna do. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, that you have just given your power.
Right.
You have given your well, you know, that's the thing about America is, you know, we're the only country that has this experiment that is still going on, which is, that's a testament to our country. That's a testament to a lot of countries, because there were countries that had this going on as well, but the people got lazy. They got ignorant. Right. So what happened is you had people who came through who decided, you know what, because y'all don't know nothing, I'm going to take over and I'm going to own this. And this day, you have people who in North Korea, who's in Venezuela, who's in Cuba, who's in, you know, certain parts of Europe. They don't have no say. So this is the only country you can come to and have one. We were talking about living in your own authenticity. And there are some things we don't agree with that other people do. But like you said, Charles, the other night, it's their right as Americans to live the life that they want to live, because that is what it is. That's
the American dream, the American, that whole that's what this democracy was built on, with the Statue of Liberty, all that. Bring to me your masses, your sick, your poor. This country was built to help those who are being discriminated and judged and brutalized in other countries where they can't just be themselves. You can be any religion you want to be. It doesn't bother the other religion. You're not over there burning the churches down. You're not over there killing their parishioners. You follow your faith to your belief and live your life. This is not a how you say it. It's not an obscene venture toward anyone else. You just don't like it. You don't like me wearing hats. That's your problem. Stop watching me and stop looking at my social media if you don't like my hats. You know, we all have things that we do that someone else doesn't like, and we don't have empathy. Is what's missing in this country. We don't care about how other people feel. We just have no empathy.
Well, you know, we like to make it to everything to where it's comfortable for us and our surrounding. You know, and it has to be. I mean, I have to go out my front door and make it comfortable me. At the end of the day, there was a situation in Atlanta before we go to break. I remember I was attending a particular church in Atlanta during this time frame, and the area where this church was being rebuilt. Things like that. So there was this group that wanted to come in and bring an adult bookstore.
Oh, well.
Okay, into the community. All right. Oh my God, the pastor just went 30 miles to the left and 30 miles to the left, and make sure you go out there and protest and get out there with your picket signs and all this stuff. I mean, okay, I get it, but I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you banning something does not change the aspect of what somebody wants to see and do. Period. At the end of the day, you may not like the aspect of pornography being in the neighborhood. Just stay out of there.
It actually makes it more mysterious. Makes me want to know what you're hiding.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I mean, my thing was like, just stay out of there. Okay, if it offends you that much, then don't go in. So if you know what's going on in them, then obviously you've been making some visits, maybe not at that one, but somewhere else you've been going. Okay.
You got a subscription.
Yeah, somewhere else you've been going and watching whatever the case may be, and now it's in your neighborhood, you're gonna get even more tempted, right? All right, don't do that to people, please. But anyway, we got a quick break, and we'll be right back. But as we go to break, we're gonna celebrate and need you guys to celebrate the man right here. Okay, DTWW Reactions is back, and they're back in full force. All right, go to the Dylan Washington YouTube page. All right, and you will see DTWW Reactions. If you want to learn more about the industry and typically in artists in terms of singing and movies and all of the type of things, he is unpacking. He had some great shows prior too. All right, but he is coming back, and he is back with a force, y'all. All right, support. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
You go, boy.
Call 844-55-STARZ. It's Junk Stars, baby.
Hey, my name is Thurston, and here I have my CEO, son Langston. We specialize in junk removal, dumpster rental, and demolition. So if you need junk removed,
call Junk Stars.
You need dumpster rentals,
call Junk Stars.
All right, and we are back, guys. We are back. Charles, can you pull up one of those quotes? I think the last one, or the one that looks a little bit gray. Encouragement quote. Then we kind of pivot from there. If you get it.
Hot second.
All right, yeah, take your time. But anyway, so matter of fact, while we're getting that up, talk a little bit about the DTWW Reactions. Oh, yeah, it's that one.
In case no one told you today, you are amazing. You are brilliant. Your smile is beautiful. You are strong. You are a gift. You are important. Your happiness is essential. You are enough. You are loved. You are worthy. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
absolutely.
Right.
Y'all remember that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I know somebody out there today really needed to hear that caption. To really to figure out their position in this life, and among human, you are enough. That was what that's part of us still of our main source of our background, a backbone of this show, because we want you to be enough, for yourself to move forward and other things. But anyway, go ahead and talk about a little bit about DTWW.
Oh, DTWW is a labor of love for me. This was something that I thought of 2 years ago, and this was something I've seen other people do, and I wanted to get into it myself because I have something to say. I like the fact of listening and looking at stuff. You go to, what's so funny? People, they watch things on television. They watch sports. They watch movies. We talk about movies all the time. We talk about certain things, and we give our perception. We analyze it. Sometimes we just more than analyze. We give our hypothesis on it too. And to be honest with you, that's something that I am about. I like to talk. And then on top of that, art is almost like life. Art helps life.
Well, it mirrors
move.
life.
It mirrors life. It helps
Mhm.
life to move forward. That's why a lot of people like Trump do not care for liberal arts.
Mhm.
That's why you have a lot of Republicans who pull money away from the arts programs within the school programs because art is considered too progressive for certain places. I remember when I went to an HBCU and we did the Color Purple. You know, in the Color Purple, there was a situation of abuse, but also of same gender love because of the love scenes between Celia and Suge. And a lot of people did not understand it or get that because of their church-based situations, which I understood. It's a taboo subject that people do not like to talk about. But love is love, regardless of regardless of if it's a love or you know, from family love or love. You know what I'm trying to get at. But anyways, it's just to be honest with you. That what really art is you're supposed to have those types of conversations when you're watching stuff of that nature. It's supposed to provoke thoughts and provoke good thoughts as well as bad thoughts, but it's supposed to make you think. And that's what I do for my reactions. I love to watch stuff and I like to come to the conclusion of what from my perception of what it is.
But your knowledge of history is so powerful. I mean, it is so powerful.
Well, I just got one question. Will there be some Tchaikovsky or Beethoven in this thing? I'm just wondering.
Oh no! Well, listen. It depends on if you want me. See, this is what's gonna make my my platform different. I'm now starting to look into the comments, and whatever people give me, I'm going to react to what they give me, and I'm going to acknowledge those people. Because they sent me something that they want me to react to. I believe that if people, especially those who support, I believe that you need to listen to those who support you and understand that they liking what you're doing. They want you to do what they think is they want your analysis on what they like and so they can get the same, you know, man, you know, I never thought about this or I never thought about that. I thought about this, but you know, I did not know you were thinking the same thing. So it brings a community up. It brings a conversation, which is what we're trying to do with Truth Behind the Truth. That's why we tell you all to comment, so we can have those conversations, those conversations, whether you know we agree to disagree, but in dialogue. But to be honest with you, that's what brings humanity together, regardless of race, religion, sexuality, gender. It's the conversation. So that what makes mine different from everybody else is that I look into the comment sections. I read. And
you go into the weeds. Woo, that's dangerous.
I go into the weeds too. Yes, I do.
Dangerous.
I go pull them out. And I don't smoke them. I try not to. You see, I've lost a little bit of weight since those pictures.
Hey,
more to lose, to be honest with you. But yeah, I read the comments and I try to pull from what people are giving me. So I think that what sets mine apart from everybody else's. I'm just not just reactions. I'm reading and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll look into that. And I go, you know.
Well, and thank you for sharing that. I'm a piggyback off what you're saying, but since you're in the entertainment area, giving complete reaction, I want to bring up Mr. Smokey Robinson.
Oh no, don't do that.
Can you believe that? Yeah, you can believe it. I know Charles like I ain't surprised. Charles got that look on his face. I ain't surprised. So I am surprised at this point because I'm a little bit disappointed in Mr. Smokey. You know, I mean, all this alleged right behavior all these years, you know, and that he kind of skated around, not to mention a little bit, but he wasn't the type of person that was going to be bothering women unwillingly and all these other type of things that he has put out there for years. And then now they're coming out, you know, I mean, wow. But you said this some time ago. You said anybody that was around Berry Gordy coming up through that time frame, they were doing some things you just didn't know about it, and it's gonna come out. And here we go.
Yeah, to be honest with you, what's going on with Sean P. Diddy or Puffy Combs, that's been going on for a long time. And to be honest with you, if you ever read the books on the legends of Motown, that the backstory is odious. It's crazy because the music was good, but it's just the culture back then was no different. Right. And the saddest thing about that culture was a lot of people took advantage because they could. They took advantage. And
But you also got to remember how culture was back
Yeah.
then. Getting high doing drugs wasn't a problem. Forceful sex wasn't a problem.
No, it wasn't.
Right.
And then I mean, you also got to remember that there weren't the laws we have now then
Right.
that would actually correct those situations.
Right.
You know, if you couldn't prove anything, you really weren't going to get anywhere. And a lot of times with these, I hate to say it this way because I want to be one, but celebrities is they feel the empowerment to do what they want to do because they are so revered or revered throughout
Yeah, you're right.
the country or the world. And so they
That's why
get
we
these
got a man
moments.
right now that he can do whatever he wants to do in that White House because we are status driven. We have a status driven culture.
The CEO of Abercrombie and Finch.
Oh
He was
yeah.
raping young men. Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
another
Oh,
CEO of fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. It's all about how far can I go and how far will you let me?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
even have to be within the music industry. It can be within any industry that you're trying to get ahead in. And a lot of people do whatever they think they could, they can to get ahead by just doing the unnecessary.
Right.
Instead of going by talent, I need to see who I can lay up underneath.
Right.
And that in itself, you're selling yourself at the worst in the worst ways.
Right.
But
Yes.
with Smokey, there has always been this tall tale about him being very competitive at Motown.
Mhm.
And Barry and Smokey were very competitive down to the music as well as down to who they
Down to Diana Ross.
that too, how many women they could sleep with.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm not surprised by what's happening. It's just at this time, at this age, I'm surprised that he didn't let that go.
But look at Smokey. If you had silky smooth skin at damn near 80 years old, and your hair's still black,
and
and
green
you still
eyes.
singing, yeah, I'm like, yo, talk about
But you
power.
don't need to sexually assault or harass if you look like that. But hell,
That's what I would say, but it's not about sex; it's about power.
Man, I
You
tell
know, and maybe he thought that, but this is not an excuse, but maybe he thought that he would not be a part of extortion, at some point throughout the whole process. So that's probably why now, as he's in a position that he's in. But it is so interwoven, and this is kind of reminding me of Bill Cosby's situation as well. Being that it's so interwoven, the whole ideas of this, because you got Camille knew exactly what Bill was doing, and got her hair right. And it's like she didn't care as long as she had the other side of the house, and he had his part and he did what he had to do. Okay. And I think the same thing with Smokey's wife here. I know we pivoted a little bit in this conversation, but I'm trying to build on what you guys were saying.
Yeah.
It's like, where does the wives say no?
It's a power grab. It's all based on power, and you can get it off of Bill Cosby. You can go as far as Warner Brothers,
Right. Well, yeah.
Jack Warner,
Yeah.
Louis B. Mayer. All of these powerful movie moguls, they took advantage because they could. That's why a lot of these actors that we revere, these legends, were on drugs,
Mhm.
or they were sexually accosted, which messed with them mentally,
Uh-huh.
because at that time it was taboo to come out and say, I've been sexually harassed
Uh-huh.
or I've been raped,
Mhm.
because of the fact that nobody would believe them. And then they would call them crazy.
Right.
And say, well, I think you're crazy, and we're going to put you in a psych ward.
Right.
Because they didn't want to believe that. Even to this day, we got somebody up in Washington as we speak,
Right.
who's running the free world.
Mhm.
The man was with Epstein
Epstein. Uh-huh.
was on Epstein Island. They were good.
Why
friends.
haven't we looked at Epstein's case? Why we can't see the files on that? We see JFK and Martin Luther King, but we can't see that.
Right.
The man was doing everything with that man in the 90s.
Mhm.
And was considered a very close confidant until the day
But he wasn't the only one. It turns out that there's a fashion mogul. I can't remember his name. He had another island like Epstein, and he brought the young girls there to do what he did, and he had all these people coming there. Epstein wasn't the only one. There were a few of them. They found out there's at least 3-4 islands that people own that they would bring and do that. They bring in young girls and all these top, I guess, celebrities or people would come in and do what they do or whatever. And this is what bothers me with black folks when they go, well, Trump wasn't a racist until he ran for president. No, he was always a racist.
Right.
And even with the Miss Junior America pageant, they even said he walked through the room while they were naked, and he only wanted to talk to girls who weren't dressed.
Right.
Come on, man.
Well, I mean,
and
he
this is
wasn't
all
racist
proven.
if you had a good investment. He wasn't racist unless you had money. I mean,
Right.
just because he took pictures with Jesse Jackson and Michael Jackson and Mike Tyson and Whitney Houston, these people were of status.
Right.
Why hasn't Killer Mike? Why hasn't all these folks that was talking all that smack about Kamala? Why ain't they out there now talking? Why you not saying nothing about them getting rid of Black history?
They got
Right?
paid.
And then Candace Owens had the nerve to go, "Well, I respect Killer Mike. Killer Mike's another sad case. He only go where the wind blow." One time I had respect for him. I don't even have it for him anymore because he only talks when it benefits Killer
It
Mike.
does. He got paid.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
was it Godfrey? The Godfrey, the comedian, he said they might be on coon tracks.
Yes,
They might got
are.
coon track. But the
Yeah.
sad thing about that is they got paid. It's nothing. They have did the work. They have gotten their investment. At the end, it's all an investment. At the end of the day, these people are paid and bought.
Right.
And my thing is that we, as the average people, as the average American, don't see it for what it really is. When you are watching your algorithm and you got people who tell you that sleeping a good 8 hours is when you sleep like that, you're losing success because you need to be out there hustling and grinding. You know, the richest people are up all night hustling and grinding. Like
That's not true.
at the end of the day, these are people who have exploited, who have also took advantage, telling you in your algorithm that you're a weak ass and that you don't know how to work. You need to start doing research on these people.
Yeah.
You need to start doing research on their on what they do. Because Puff Daddy was doing that. He told those people to go across the Brooklyn Bridge in the middle of not a snowstorm, but it was cold that night to go get him a cheesecake from Junior's. He exploited them young musicians.
Hey, hazing is not new. They do it in the military. They do it in the colleges. They do it everywhere. Hazing is nothing new. It's one of those things they call it a rite of passage, according to them.
That's
But,
what
when you think about it, look at the fact R. Kelly was doing what he was doing for decades. It wasn't like he did it last year. It was decades.
Right.
In Chicago, I'm from Chicago. We talked about how he go to the high schools and pick up young girls. We know he did.
Right. Wow.
I thought it was McDonald's too. Did he go to the
It
local
don't matter.
McDonald's?
Hey, where the teenagers hang out.
It's so sad.
The fact is that I wanted to and drop this nugget in too as we were talking about this, and then like in the middle of the Puffy situation, and now of course we got Smokey Robinson is going to be servicing with all this as well. But I'm a listener of different people out there, just to hear what their collective opinions are. And Larry Reid and Larry Reid Live is another one I time to time listen to. He did the thing about Larry is that he's trying to educate the church, stop trying to be more stop being so religious minded and be more productive minded in society. So his conversations kind of try to bring them in. But anyway, I think he did a 2-night series on Puffy, and I was really surprised to hear how he went about his explanation about it. I think I may have mentioned this on the show before, but he said that society needs to stop beating Puffy up for what he did, not in the terms of the abuse, but in terms of his sexual proclivities. I was like, wow. He said, yeah. He said, why are we beating this man up because he liked to have this type of thing? His sexual behavior was inclusive of everybody he could get in the room to do it, And why did that become wrong for him to do it? Now, the wrong part, it's not excusing that. The wrong part of it is what he did to the other people, forcing them to be in all these different parties and things. That part of it was wrong. But the other side of this is that why is everybody persecuting him because he enjoyed having multiple people having sex around him? He's enjoyed
But you got to remember, it's the contradiction. Because I'm the same way. If you have a consenting adults that agree to what you're doing, then you do it.
Right.
There's nothing illegal about it. You did what everybody wants to do.
Right.
The thing about it is if you were trafficking and had younger
kids
under age, that's an issue.
Right.
Everything else, but if it's amongst consenting adults, and this is what I'm probably gonna get ate up for this, but I don't feel sorry for Cassie because Cassie stayed. And I'm not trying to be mean, but you knew what he was doing and you stayed there and you let all these guys screw you and you was like he made you. No, you could have left. Right. Being a star or singing in the studio or making a record is not the sacrifice you make.
Right.
To do all that, and you still didn't get to rank a record. You made 2 records out of all these years of doing that.
Right.
Come on now.
Well, probably, at the time she was a little young when she got signed. Now, to be honest, the power that he had, probably not, and I don't think Puffy is not that powerful, but the fact that for her, power looked like him, regardless if she would have left or not. The saddest thing about it was that he provoked her. He controlled her mind enough to say, if you leave me, I'm coming after you.
Did she have family?
It didn't matter.
Yes, it does. It does matter.
And on top of that, the family dynamic. How was that?
But it still matters. You can't say it don't matter because they're her people. Then the people that are around her. You can't just put everything on Puffy. True, she was underage. That's why I say it's a problem because he took advantage of her. But there's still people around her. There were still people collecting off of what she was making, off the money Puffy gave her. All the other people that was connected to her. Nobody said anything. And this is my problem with Puffy's bodyguards. They knew what was going on. Now you want to go on camera and talk about what you saw and how it. No, you should have said something when it happened. You're just an accessory to the fact. Don't be something trying to say now you telling things. No, you should have told it when it happened.
You know what, Charles, and I would agree, but I'm going to say this too. Remember on that part on What's Love Got to Do It when Tina Turner, aka Anime, was trying to leave, and she called her mother. She said, "I'm coming to see you. Don't tell Ike, but I'm coming to see you, right?" And she got on the bus. She said, "I'm leaving." She didn't say nothing. She got the kids. She got them all dressed, and she left. But guess who told Ike where she was?
True, and that's my point.
Sometimes your blood will do you in. Cassie probably didn't have no faith in her blood. That's why she couldn't leave. That's why she didn't have the power to leave. You don't. The family dynamic is why would you leave the benefactor? We're good. You should be good.
I'm a different type of person. This is how I look at it. Even when you see wrong, you do better. And staying there wasn't making it better. She didn't make it any better staying there and doing what she was doing. How did that please anybody? It didn't please her. And then my other point being that when people are in situations they can't control, I'm all understanding how sometimes you can be manipulated and used in different ways. I just say though that you can't always play a victim. Everybody can't be a victim. That's just my thing. And I'm gonna share something with you right now that bothered me. When I was a teenager, I played basketball in the youth NBA league. Yeah, I could hoop. And there were a lot of what went on. There were guys who hung out, pedophiles. They didn't realize who they were till later, but they were pedophiles who hung out. And I met a guy on the bus who used to come to all my practices up there at the church and look at what was going on. And he used to say, "Man, you good. My brother played the Globetrotters." Well, ain't okay. So he played. Of course, then the kid was like, "Wow, that's fantastic. He played the Globetrotters." So one day I'm on the bus coming from high school, and he's on the bus. And of course, nobody sit by him. He moves his bag and say, "Hey, come sit by me." I come sit by him, and he goes, "Man, I love watching you play." Well, I heard that before from quite a few people, especially since I'm 16. I'm playing with grown guys, big guys. I'm doing my thing. So he goes, "Hey, I'd like for you to stop by my house and check out the pictures of the Globetrotters, my brother with the Globetrotters."
Wow.
So I went, "No, I don't know." He says, "Hey, well, cool. Well, I'll tell you what, but you can make $50 real fast if you want." I was like, $50? I'm like, of course, being a teen, I was like, "Yeah, for real? Okay." He goes, "Yeah, hey, just follow me to the house, man. And then let's just talk about it." I was like, so as we got closer to our stop, because his apartment was across from the church I played at. And I said, "So what I gotta do for this $50? And he goes, "Let me give you oral sex." And I went, "What?"
Wow.
And I was like, "No." So instead of getting off at my stop, I got off at a later stop, and he got off with me instead of getting off at the first stop where we normally get off at. So he followed me to the gym, and I got up in the gym, and I went, "Yo!" I told the older guys, I was like, "There's a dude out here wanting to give me head, talking about he give me $50." I said, "What?" And they went running out the door. He went up into his building, and this is my point. When I know it's scary, but sometimes you got to stand up for yourself. You just can't lay down and let people do things to you and go, "Well, what can I do? What could I say?" There's a lot you can do and say.
That's right.
And I'm not mad at you because you don't. I'm just saying there's more you can do than you're doing.
Yeah, well, but some people can't read the forest for the trees. Does that make sense? Can't see the forest for the trees. And you caught it. Some people, they don't catch it, but they see dollar signs. Now he offered you $50. Some people, like Shannon Sharp, situation,
You brought Shannon in.
Shannon Sharp situation, that young anybody could have been man or woman could have wanted that $50. But the saddest thing about that is that's where some people don't understand. That's where they get you. That's where they really get you because you're not strong enough. You're not able enough to say, wait a minute now, hold on. Because at the end of the day, that's just some people's mentality. They go along to get along because they too either scared to get the hell up and get off at an earlier stop, and are just at least saying, you know what, get your ass, let's get But that right there, I always said this about Nicole Brown Simpson, and I'm gonna leave this one alone too as well. I always said that too, Charles. Why did she just get up and go? Why did she stay with man until all this situation went down? Why could she not number? And also this, why did she allow this man to buy the house she got murdered at? Right. If you was trying to get away from this dude, why allow him to buy the house? But then I realized something. When she dated OJ, she was only 18 years old.
Yep. He
so
left his wife
she
and
did not know
family.
the ways of the world. She did not know how to get around. Once the night she got killed was the moment that her life did change because she started to get some independence for herself. Same thing with Princess Diana. These were some young ass women who married older men who controlled the narrative. Right. Until they started getting some independence, that's when they all got killed. That's when they both got killed. Right. Yeah. But it's just the fact of getting out. But some of them don't get out till it's too late. And when it's too late, it's just what can you do?
When you have individuals in situations like that, they're number one, they're lacking self-identity.
Self-identity, yeah.
You know, and then through these, you know, these prowlers, you know, on their lives, they really get drawn into the aspect of that, and they think that they're going to gain identity for themselves by getting involved with these people, be it money wise and otherwise, you know, and promises, unkept promises, and things like that. And it's a problem.
It is,
you know. But here's the thing: it's been a problem, like you said, Charles. And you see, I remember, way back when I was probably even in elementary school, that I would hear about situations such as that. And then I think, Charles, you can contest that when we were growing up during that time, that middle to the end of the 60s. You know, that type of behavior was going on a lot.
I couldn't find a girlfriend from 8th grade until junior year in high school because they were all dating grown men.
Yeah, wow.
I was in the car in the house, and they was like, "What you gonna do for me?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't have no car, no house. I mean, I stay with my mama, and she let me use the car on the weekend." So
there you go, and it still goes on to this day.
Yeah, but I think it's just worse to this day. Well, you know, I don't think things got magnified worse. It's just that it's more exposed to us on a
it is more exposure,
because I remember, like I said, I remember the first thing I had ever heard growing up, typically, that I thought a person was either same gender loving or gay, they had to be a pedophile. And that's what came across on the news. You know what I'm saying? That they were allegedly out here taking kids up and doing these type of activities, you know, to them or whatever. That I wasn't hearing about relationships. You know, I wasn't hearing about the aspect of two, you know, positive men or two positive women together and moving forward. No, I wasn't hearing that. You know,
I'm one of those people that they question everything. So of course, in church, in Sunday school, they used to say, "You need to be quiet," because I wanted to know. I just couldn't understand. And then, like I tell people, the Bible is one of the most pornographic books around. I mean, it's so much sex and fornication and incest, and I'm like, whoa. So this is where we're supposed to be learning from, but this is where a lot of that information comes from. And then my other thing is, I've never been one, and this is what I probably, even with my dad, who's a top dog Mason, he always used to say, "Hey, you need to join." I've never been a follower. I just never have been.
Me too.
I have to do what feels good to me. I'm not gonna do because everybody else is doing. I just can't do it.
That's true. You don't even have friends with that type of mentality.
No.
You got to be a follower to have a bunch of people in your life, and that's the saddest thing about the situation. Even on your job, you got in order to you know, have some type of gain, you got to be a follower. You got to, and then that's where we were just talking about the situation with sexual abuse and sexual assault. This rite of passage. Them having you do crazy stuff to gain some type of approval for a manager or for whoever runs a company. That's where all of this stuff comes from. You cannot that's one of the things I always say. I never had a lot of friends. I never could get a lot of friends because I just didn't follow. I did things
Yeah.
that felt good for me,
That's right.
not what felt good for somebody else. And
So
that's
true.
why people end up in these situations because they're so busy following people
Right.
into
Exactly.
homes,
Yep.
into
Right.
cars.
Right.
I don't want to be with y'all. And then next thing you know, stuff happens.
Right. It's so true. I mean, and we people in that's probably another show we had to do
Yes,
on the
it
Cycle
is. It's a
Line.
great show.
Right. That people find themselves in situations, and it's because a lot of hurt that people carry. A lot of things that they haven't been able to balance out for their individual lives. So gaining that attention, and typically because of the sensational moment that people get in that time, we tend to think that it just moves the problem out of the way, but really it magnifies the problem.
It does.
And it makes it even worse, in a situation like that. And then, and the abuse that women have just been known to endure. I mean, just even the short end of what we're talking about. But then if you go back to, what happened during, the slavery period, but I don't like to talk about that much, but you're talking about massive abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, and
making shoes out of skin, making purses out of skin, making baby factories to feed to the alligators. And
oh my God, it's just some most inhumane things that that people of color have had to endure. I mean, in the lion's share of it, you think that because of that this overall and the need and strength, and we're talking about that it should be being brought forward a lot more than what it does because of what you've gone through, or because of what family has gone through in the process of that. But I think that side of it still builds a lot of fear in a lot of people because we live so much in the what if, and thank God that you and I collectively here have the mindset to be independent, be the independent in the room. And like you said, I was the same way. I would go to the party, I would stand along the wall, and everybody said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I'm good." I'm assessing what's going on because if y'all go start acting stupid, I got to get closest to the door. I was not one that was always engaged in things, and then a part of my life, I started to feel really bad that I wasn't. That I wasn't the one that was
because you felt different. You felt like a misfit.
I wasn't the one that I felt like was overly I guess rewarded for being part of the group. Even when I ran for office as part of my political side, even in high school when I ran for office, I won twice. As president, I run twice as president. Didn't win in my senior year because that was a black versus white situation. But but even in that, I politicked the way that I had to in high school and things like that, and I got elected because I was quite popular in high school. Not to the fact I was involved in everything, to be popular. So I wasn't a sports enthusiast, so they didn't vote me. I guess I had the great gift to gab, and got things done, But even at that, I was still a lone president of my class, I was still alone. And I was like, man, I should be the one that's like being the center of attraction at the parties, and at halftime I didn't want to go. And I'm wondering why I didn't want to go, but now I understand now that I'm older why I didn't want to go, and be the center of that particular moment, in time. But it's just, when you are a leader, and I'm leaving this, and you guys know, is that when you are a leader, you cannot be a part of everything. It's something that's about you and your characteristics that is just a inevitable part of you that you cannot be part of everything because. Number one is that they're going to look at you as you the one that started the mess in the first place. You had nothing to do with it.
You need to have critical thought. You need to be able to evaluate a situation and understand the dynamics of it. And like I say, it's like common sense. It ain't common amongst everybody. It just isn't.
You got to pick and choose who at least agree with what you stand for.
Absolutely.
And even Betty Davis said to, I forget the actress though, but she was the actress that asked her, how is it that one can have a long standing career? And Betty Davis told her the only way to have a long standing career in this industry is that everybody can't be your friend.
Yeah.
So you have to make your enemies. And she said, in those people, she said, she made it very clear, your enemies are the ones that get in the way of your work.
That's true.
Because your friends will understand. The real people will understand. Yeah, you have a purpose. Let me say my part and get out the way.
Mhm.
But you have those who will want, let's go out the party, even though you got to be back at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Man, let's go out. We're just gonna stay up for a little bit and have you out to about 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing that you got to be back at work
Right.
at 8.
Sure.
Those are not your friends.
Right.
Because they don't understand that there's a seriousness to life and there's a purpose up to your situation. You got to understand that some of these folks, they take advantage. And I had that in college. I had a friend like that because I was working and this person wasn't. He always needed something to eat when I came. Can you go by McDonald's and give me something? It was like every time I would come and visit this person, can you buy me something to eat? Why couldn't you just say, you know what, I ain't got that. I'm having a hard time. I know I'm utilizing your time and I apologize, but I'm so hungry. At least be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
But because he needed somebody like me who was working and had some bit of funds coming through, every time I come visit him, go buy me something. And as a fool, trying to have a friend, a fool, wanting a friend, wanting somebody, yes, I would go do it until it got to a point I said, you know what? It's time to stop. Truth behind the truth, it's time to live in reality and say, you know what, you're using me, and I don't understand why, but now I know,
Right.
So I'm going to stop this.
Well, I mean that's a very good point about even like the subject of the show. I know y'all are like, how are you assessing the direction of the wind and which direction you're going, which was the title of the show tonight. I think that we kind of covered that, and looking back as to all of the scenarios that we've getting, and we've all been in that wind. We all are in that wind. Now the old saying is that don't find yourself pissing in the wind. That's an old saying when you talk about wind, but there's a deep meaning behind that, because if you're not able to turn it and change your direction in life, you'll find yourself end up pissing it, you get pissed out in the wind, and it ends up being you.
Could the pissing be resentment? Because to be honest with you, I think that is the symbolism of resentment, because some of us have resented things that have happened, and that sometimes stall our progress. You're mad. You're mad because of what people have said and people what have did. You have entrusted you have put faith into people, family, friends, pastors, teachers, people who told you, well, this is the right way to go about doing things, and those things didn't happen in the right way because
or the way they thought,
or the way they should,
they thought, but it's happening your way.
And there is this thing called resentment because you are angry. I feel like I've been betrayed. You betrayed me. You told me a big ass lie. I thought because I did listen, it's like you trying to get a promotion, or you trying to get some title on your job, and somebody saying, well, in order to get this title, you need to go through A, B, C, and D. Well, because you didn't do what they call the humiliation ritual, the rite of passage, this person next to you who is not qualified, who don't have the credentials, they did whatever they weren't supposed to do and got the promotion instead of you who actually did the work. So because that person told you, there is some anger, resentment, because that's some effed up situation, which we're now seeing in real time. I mean, you think about it. We talk about the president all the time, but you think about the mediocrity of how Trump got to be successful compared to what Obama had to do to be successful. I saw that interview with Michelle Obama, and she had the courage to say these colleges are a scam. The way that the culture is operated at these Ivy Leagues are a scam. You are always overqualified than those who have money and status, but they want to find a way to belittle you and make you feel small because of your background to make sure that you don't get ahead. But and she said that about Washington. All of these politicians who have all these big names and then have come from these lineages, they're a scam. They ain't even doing the work. And that's where Trump comes from. The mediocrity is he comes from a lineage of people who work by doing less and less and exploiting, and they got wealth. They got rich. And you got somebody like Obama who came up from a situation of middle class, but then on top of that had to go to school to learn, but then became a community leader, which didn't make him that much amount of money. He had to go and intern at a law firm where his wife made more money, and she made the money. Michelle made the money, but he had to get over the hump in order to get what he needed, and he became, a senator. But he had to work. He had to work, and that's what a lot of people don't. It's just that type of situation where mediocrity is rewarded, while hardworking It's not.
Right.
Well, my dad used to tell me this all the time. Hindsight is 20/20.
Right.
And it is. We can
Right.
always look back and see where we went wrong, what we didn't do.
Right.
But the key to it is understanding and have a plan for going forward versus always looking back going, this didn't happen, that didn't happen, why we didn't. Hey, learn from your lessons.
Right. You know, and I'm so about that. And I think that here at this point in my life is that I'm getting beat up for that philosophy. Not literally beat up, but beat up in the fact of what I know is to be true for the life of any human being.
That's true.
You know, and I'm so focused in on wanting to help people understand that, you know, I from every aspect of it. I mean, even down to the point, as I mentioned on the show quite oftenly, I'm at the point now that I'm done hearing about the poverty of African American people. You know, we've got to change the perspective on. First of all, you got to understand how you got to poverty. Okay.
Mhm.
And then once you understand it, then you need to start moving from a different direction from
Sure.
that poverty.
Sure.
That first thing in changing anything is to change your thought, because you can't change nothing if you don't change your mind, and then change the words that are coming out of your mouth. Okay, because how can you become even close to $500,000? To use that example, status when you're still talking about $50? You know, and how are you going to ever move from that and unless you change your perspective? So my other perspective with that is that this conversation that I'm having right now with you guys, it should have been a conversation a long time ago. You know, we, as much money as we spend, as quote unquote, as people say that the community spends, then we should be the number one investments
But
in
we don't
ourselves.
invest in each other.
Well, that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah,
You know,
okay,
we're not,
sorry.
we're not investing in our own cause.
No,
we're
we
not
don't.
investing in situations like
Don't
that. We out
invest in
here,
each other.
we don't. We out here in LA. I mean, I don't know. I think it's popping up a little bit in Atlanta, but out here in LA, you got sidewalk vendors, you got food trucks galore in LA, and ain't even 2/3, ain't even 1/3 of them owned by an African American.
Well, what I tell you earlier, if your dreams aren't so big, they scare you, they're not big enough.
They're not big enough.
We don't venture out because we're worried if it'll fail, how it'll look to everybody else if it don't work. And
But you know, and that mentality has been ingrained. The lack of success has been ingrained, and this is why people are afraid to make those steps. I know we got to wrap it. The one it kind of leads me to a point. To one of my sales team members at work, I had a really a great conversation with her. She just poured her heart out to me. You know, we were talking, and she told me about her migrating status. You know, coming here from where she came from, whatever the case may be. And then she told me how she started making money. She said that they would buy, they would go to the dollar stores, okay, and buy the product at the dollar stores that the community needed, and go back to the community and sold that to the community.
I know people who do that with liquor stores.
They call it affiliate marketing.
Right. But the point is that, and then she said, I did this at 14 years old because she said, we came here with nothing.
Wow.
She said, we came here. She said, I only had the clothes that I had on and another pair of shoes when I got here as a child, you know, and they worked, her and her sisters worked to that extent because they didn't have necessarily the social skills, you know, she made that work and she began to make money. And then their mother was still in the country where they're from. And they worked, saved the money, put the money to get their mother here.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and I sat there and I listened. I was like, man, what a sense of community.
Yeah.
You know, that
we were that community way back in the day. I remember I don't remember. I remember reading what Maya Angelou said about her grandmother selling fried meat pies. And that's how she got her convenience store in Stamps, Arkansas. She sold those meat pies to not only blacks, but to whites too. And because of it, she bought the property and built her store.
And then that says my saying sentiments. If we're going to ever change the cultural perspective of African Americans in this United States, I won't say America, this United States, you know, the understanding of the purpose and the need for entrepreneurship has got to start. It's got to start because otherwise it's going to
be the mother of invention. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah,
that's right.
And too many times we're too busy trying to say, I want my kids to go through what I went through. They shouldn't have to they need to have nice shoes and stuff. And instead of letting them live their lives and understand what hardship is, and how the struggle is.
Yeah,
we
they
try to
have-
shelter them.
have
And they go
gone-
up going, well, I need my new Jordans. And you go, well, I'm not making them. I need my Jordans. Which one? You look stupid out here with no Jordans.
Have
And,
go-
the, and
go-
the
go-
Wayans are going through that right now because didn't Damon do an interview saying that the new generation do not understand how the struggle was.
We
So
made them privileged. We made them privileged. We won't let them struggle. We want. I'm not gonna let my kids go through what I went through.
Funny, it was a good point. But Ben Affleck said that to his son because his son told him he wanted a certain pair of gym shoes, and he's like, "That's more than that I probably got in an hour or in a year, for those gym shoes and when I was your age." So he told him, "No, when you get the money, you go buy them."
That's right.
Okay, this is my money. This ain't your money. At the end of the day. But and then I'm wrapping it. The thing with me, I think sometimes this is kind of like on the transparent side. In some places, I don't know necessarily where. I don't think I lost my vision, but the direction. And what I mean by that is that I knew growing up that I was an entrepreneur. Okay, I mean, and I still had a strong entrepreneur spirit. But in my neighborhood, I had the 4-seasoned job. Okay, winter I would shovel snow. I had 7 customers that I serviced all year round. Wintertime I would shovel the snow. Summertime I would, in the fall I would rake the leaves. In the summertime I would mow the lawns. Okay, and I got service. I mean, out of that particular point in time, and I think it made a lot of framework for the aggressiveness to want to be able to have more.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me that I'm a business owner, but I'm not the business owner that I know the potentials that can be that I've already done. And so I feel like as a person, I'm just being transparent. And maybe this is something that some of you guys are having the concern with is, am I waiting for somebody to give me that opportunity and not doing like I did as a child or a young person and went and got the opportunity? Because I literally went and knocked on their doors. Wow. I literally said, you know what, I'll cut your grass for you and I'll shovel your snow for you and I'll rake your leaves for you. I went and got it.
I hear that.
And it manifested itself, So maybe I'm speaking to myself right now as we close the show. That which way in the wind am I turning right now? Wow. Which direction am I turning in the wind right now? I can ask you guys that too, because I'm feeling that at the moment. Where are you? What direction in the wind are you turning? I'm saying this to the audience right now. Maybe you can share just a couple seconds of that, and then Charles, you can say as we bring it to a wrap here. What do you think you're turning in? What direction in the wind?
Oh goodness, that's a good question. Well, to be honest with you, it just depends. It depends. The win in itself is what is it? A representation of the emotion or opportunities?
Am I turning away because I got a strong wind coming at me and I'm not able to assess
that
it?
in itself? I wish somebody would have asked me that in college.
Wow.
I wish somebody would have asked me that in college. To be honest with you, that was really a time when somebody should have set me down and say, where's this wind pushing you?
Yeah.
And where do you feel like you're off course? That should have been most appropriate. I'm, now at this stage, still finding that wind of purpose.
Okay.
And that is where I'm still on the journey, navigating the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say I'm still navigating it. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, I'm finding the purpose in just walking steadfast, just walking straight into it. Okay. But then, yes, that's the only thing I can say about that. That should have been something I wish somebody would have asked me. But on that though, the wind is still pushing me, but I'm still having some other stuff knocking me over. So yes.
Okay.
That's just being real.
No. That's beautiful. Being real. Charles, you good.
Hey, I'm a firm believer in 2020. We see it behind us and we see how it worked out. Why can't we change our mindset and why can't we find a new direction to course to follow? Right. We can't just keep doing it, what they call insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Yeah, well, that has to happen. And I'm not going to act like I do everything right. So please don't think I'm saying I'm perfect. Even though I feel perfect, I'm not perfect. I go through my struggles and my trials
It was
too.
perfect.
Right.
Yeah. So I just say this to everybody.
Look good ain't that perfect either. I mean, they ain't
Yeah,
perfect.
you have to look at yourself and say, what am I doing for me? And this is the only time I tell people to be selfish. When you're trying to do better and trying to be better, look at yourself.
All
When you're
right.
trying to criticize everybody else, that's not how that works. Do you be that example or that person you want other people to be? Lead by example. And too many times we just say, well, that's them. No. Be that change you want to see. And once you do that, it will be contagious and it'll spread.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
right.
Well,
Farrakhan said, don't laugh, learn.
That's it. That's it.
Well,
Don't laugh, learn.
Powerful.
Not a loss, it's a lesson.
This is true.
That's right.
So that was a good point, guys. I hope that you guys take the time out to listen and maybe listen, on another day, for this, find out where you're standing in the wind. And that wind could be so many different things. It could be wind of your job, wind of starting your own business, wind on your current job, wind in your relationship. The wind is always around you, but it's just how are you allowing that wind to affect you? All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the Truth Behind the Truth tonight. I'm glad we did leave you with a thought. All right, Charles, there's one more caption. I think the second caption, we can put that up. I think that would be really kind of.
Which one?
I think it was dated from May 2nd. It had May 2nd on the top, but I think it was really a good way to end. No, not that one. It should be at the bottom of the other one. There you go. You want to read it?
Okay. Sometimes all you need is belief. Trust that everything is working out, even if you can't yet see how. Let the mystery stay open, stay aligned, and allow the universe to surprise you in the most beautiful ways.
Wow.
True.
Wow. The truth behind the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The truth behind the truth. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time out. Appreciate your support. Should you choose to, we have our platforms, for that. The Truth Behind the Truth on Venmo, and then I forgot what we're on. Cash App, TTBTT Show, or you can contact us the other way, being the email as well, TTBTT Show at Gmail. The Cash App is TTBTT Show, and then on our Venmo is Truth Behind the Truth.
All right.
We appreciate your time. Thank you again. Thank you for your support, and share and like the show. All right, please share, and like the show. We're not at this point the biggest thing out there, but we're the most informative thing that's out there.
That's right.
Okay. Sometimes big things come in small packages.
Right.
It depends on how much you want to open it up and investigate. All right. We could be way up here and saying nothing, talking loud and saying nothing, but we're right here talking about saying a whole lot. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and for tuning into what? The Truth Behind the Truth. Love you all. Take care. Oh, wow. That was a video, huh, Charles?
Mm-hmm.
What we're using for next week. This is the one where he was fussing back about what happened.
Yeah, he had got upset with everybody and went storming up to the GOP.